Hello students, today we are going to start the third section of the poem The Wasteland, the title of which is The Fire Sermon. Fire Sermon is a bewildering mix of imagery, voice and religious illusions. The title itself comes from Pali Canon, a collection of Buddhist scriptures. The Fire Sermon is liberation from senses and mind. It was as important as Sermon on the Mount in the Bible. There are references to river Thames via a poem Prothalamion by Spenser. Then the scene shifts to the bedroom of a typist girl through the mind of Tiresias, who is a prophet of Greek mythology. In the end of the section, Saint Augustine and Aquinas' philosophy has been given. It makes an appearance. So students, we are going to start the text of the poem. We are going to begin from third section, and the Fire Sermon is starting here. The river's tent is broken, the last fingers of leaf clutch and sink into the wet bank. The wind crosses the brown land unheard, the nymphs are departed, sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. The river's tent is broken. Now the scene is shifting to the riverside where the young girls and boys have just left after merrymaking through the summer night. These successors of city directors have left, the reference of which will come again. River's tent is broken. Chant of the river is the mingling of the trees. It is broken because the season autumn has set in. With the arrival of the autumn, all the foliage, twigs, all the branches have lost their natural color. They are yellow, they are brown, and only twigs are left because no foliage is there. So the trees which were making a canopy over the river, which were making a tent over the river, that is broken because no leaves are there with the arrival of autumn season. The last fingers of leaf clutch and sink into the wet bank. The last fingers of leaf, because it is the last part of spring season, that's why the last fingers of leaf. Leaves are thought to be fingers. Why they are fingers? Because they are clutching the tree, and these fingers have to depart. They are clutching the ground, the mud. They are separated from the tree. This is the cycle of the nature. Every season is changing. In the same way, age is also changing. From spring there comes autumn, from young age there comes the old age. After spring there is winter, and sinking into the wet bank. Just as a man is sinking, there is a reference there. Though this reference is hidden, it is a philosophy of life that the fingers, which is a part of a body, our body will at last mingle into the wet bank. The wind crosses the brown land unheard. Wind is still blowing, but the difference is, it is the technique of T.S. Eliot that he is presenting a scene. He is presenting things through contrast, through paradox. And the contrast is this, that with the arrival of autumn season, Wind is not changing its course, wind is not changing its nature. The only difference is that wind is not making any sound. So, wind is crossing, but it is unheard because it is not having a rustling sound. Wind is blowing, but unheard. Either people are not listening to it, or because of the lack of foliage, because of the lack of leaves, it is not making any rustling sound. The nymphs are departed, sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. The nymphs. Here the reference is to Prathlamyan, a wedding song by Spenser, the Elizabethan poet. Spenser had written this poem as a marriage song to celebrate the marriage of Queen Elizabeth. But here there is difference. These nymphs are the beautiful women of modern women, city women who have enjoyed a party with their friends, temporary friends, and they have departed. In the in original song in Prathlamyan, there is this song. In this song, nymphs were there and they were celebrating. They were making garlands for queen. They were choosing flowers from the plants. But now they are departed. Nymphs are no more there. This nymph is again a reference to the nymphs who are who are living in the trees. There is philosophy of Indian philosophy is also there, that on every tree there is gold. But these nymphs are departed because of pollution. Though reference is to Spenser, but we can take it in this sense also, that nymphs are the goddess of nature. In every tree there is a goddess, and they have departed because of pollution, because man has lost a sense of worshipping nature. Man is no more a pagan, man is no more worshipping nature. That's why these nymphs are departed. But here T.S. Eliot in his notes, he is referring to the song of Spenser, where nymphs are departed after the celebration of marriage. Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. Here there is T.S. Eliot is referring to Tiresias. Tiresias is singing a song at the side of bank. Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. Here is a reference to Psalm 137 from Bible, in which exiled Jews were mourning for their home, and the original lines are, by the rivers of Babylon there we sat down, yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion. Leman is referred to lake, it is referring to Lake Geneva. In French, it is the name of Lake Geneva, where in Lucerne, after convalescing, when he was suffering, when T.S. Eliot was suffering from nervous breakdown, he had been taking rest in a sanatorium. There he wrote this poem. So, references to Lake Geneva, but the objective correlative is from Psalm 137, where exiled Jews are mourning for their home. Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. Here Tiresias is asking Thames not to make a noise because he is singing his song. He is expressing his worries, his tension at the loss of values of modern wastelanders through his song. So he is appealing Thames not to run noisily, to run softly, because it should not disturb his song. The river bears no empty bottles, sandwich papers, silk handkerchiefs, cardboard boxes, cigarette ends, or other testimony of summer nights. The nymphs are departed. The river bears no empty bottles. Again, reference is to the party which these youngsters have had just now. They have departed, but they have left behind them all the testimonies of their party, proofs of their party. But river has not left its function of purifying everything. The dirty deeds of them are purified by nature, by river. River is still doing its holy work. It has put to an end all the proof of their merrymaking. There are no empty bottles, no sandwich papers, no silk handkerchiefs, no cardboard boxes, no cigarette ends, or any other testimony or any other proof of their summer night. They have enjoyed the night, and the things they have left is these things are polluting. River is bearing them. River is flowing them with it. The nymphs are departed. The beautiful women, after enjoying the company of youngsters, young friends, young boys during the summer night, they have left for their abodes. And nature is also just removing. Nature is also eliminating all their signs. And their friends, the friends of these nymphs, the friends of these women, the loitering ears of city directors, loitering, wandering ears. These are wandering because they don't have anything worthwhile in their life. They have no aim, no target, no spirituality in their life. They lead a materialistic life, and they have enjoyed a good company with these women, and they have left and they have departed. But the contrast with Prathalamian is there. This contrast shows that contrary to the women in Prathalamian, these men, these youngsters of today are departing without any signs, without any feelings, without any sensations in them. They have left, and while departing, they are even not addressing each other because their company was temporary, it was transitory. That's why, while departing, they are not addressing each other. In the time of Elizabeth, when the friendship, when mutual relationship was sanctified into marriage, Elizabeth had made a marriage with Leicester, her lover. The modern lovers, they don't have any feeling, no, they don't have any sensation in them, no genuine feelings are left in them. They are enjoying, their love is physical love, their love is sensual love. They are loving and bidding each by farewell. By the waters of Leman, I sat down and wept. Tiresias is weeping. He says, by the waters of Leman, I am sitting down and I am weeping. Leman is again Lake Geneva. By this water, I am sitting down and I am weeping. Not only weeping at my own condition, I am weeping for the loss of values in humanity. I am weeping for degraded humanity. Tiresias is pained to see the condition of modern people, the condition of wasteland, where no spirituality is existing, where no religion is there. People are living a barren life, a sterile life, and Tiresias is sorry at the condition of these wastelanders. Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. He is pleading Thames, he is pleading nature to adjust with him, to cooperate with him. He is singing a song. He will sing his song very soon, while he is making an appeal to Thames to run softly. Sweet Thames, run softly, for I speak nor loud nor long. He is speaking very softly. No energy is left in him to sing loudly. He will sing very softly. Neither it will be loud, nor his song will be long. It will be very short song, very small song. So Thames will have to cooperate for a very short time. Sweet Thames, don't make noise till I sing my song. At my back, in a cold blast, I hear the rattle of bones. At his back, he is listening to the song, to the sound of motor cars and the rattle of bones. Rattle of bones, rattling of bones is there. lines are objective correlative to Andrew Marvell's poem To His Coy Mistress. The original lines of Andrew Marvell are, "But at my back I always hear Time's winged chariot hurrying near." In this poem, in Wasteland, Tiresias is saying in this cold blast, because he is sitting at the bank of the river and cold wind is blowing and he is hearing the rattle of the bones. Bones of young modern wastelanders are rattling. This shows the barrenness of their life, the sterility of their life, and chuckle spread from ear to ear. Chuckling of the bones is spread from one ear to other ear. These lines are again reminiscent of the Parliament of Bees by John Donne. Their original lines are, "When of the sudden listening a noise of horns which will bring Dinah to spray." We'll continue tomorrow. Dear friends, you have to learn this, whatever I have taught you today, and tomorrow we shall meet again. Thank you.